Hello, good morning, participants. Hello, good morning. The webinar will officially start in a few minutes. So in the meantime, may we request you to please rename your Zoom name so we can identify your agency or organization. First, can you see me? Is the video clear and audio clear? May we hear from you?
Yes po, clear. Good morning.
Thank you, ma'am. Good morning po.
Good morning.
Morning. So the webinar will officially start shortly. But in the meantime, maybe request everyone to please rename your Zoom name so we can see your office or organization. Followed by your full name. So in the meantime, also, we would like you to check our website to know more about the Foreign Assisted and Special Project Service. So you may check our website it's fast.denr.gov.ph. So in that website, you can also access our newsletter. It's entitled Fast Updates. Our second quarter issue and the previous issues are posted there. So hope you find the time to check our website to get the current updates and information on our foreign assistance special projects. Yeah, so for the information of everyone, we have already published more than 20 issues. There, so you can access this in our website. So the FAST website is linked to the DENR website. So you can go to denr.gov.ph and you may find the bar or the tab on Foreign Assistance Special Project Service. So here you can access there. So you go to the tab resources and click on the fast updates releases. There, our latest issue is the second quarter. This issue, yes, features INREM and other projects. There. So time check, it's already 9:31, and we have 79 participants in our Zoom room, and in Facebook, we are streaming live in Facebook, and there are more participants joining us there. So good morning po sa lahat. New participants just entered in our Zoom room, may we please request you to please rename your Zoom name, indicate your agency or office, then followed by your full name. Thank you. So, good morning, everyone. I hope my video is clear to everyone and my audio is also clear. All right, so we'll officially start now. Hello and good morning, everyone. Welcome to the third and last episode of the webinar series on foreign-assisted projects, lessons learned, good practices, innovations, and success stories. I am Andy Palma from the Foreign-Assisted and Special Project Service of the Department of Environment and Natural Resources, and I am your host for this webinar series. This webinar features foreign-assisted projects as pioneers of innovations. And for today, we will be learning about sharing community-based forest management knowledge, Philippine-German Community Forestry Project in Quirino. So to allow everyone to have a better webinar experience, may we kindly request everyone to please take note of our webinar etiquette. First, audiences are requested to put their microphones on mute to keep background noises from interrupting the webinar. Audiences are also requested to allow the speakers to finish their presentations before asking any questions. If you have any questions, you may leave questions or comments in the chat box, and we will discuss them after the speaker is done presenting. Please make sure your audio is on mute and keep the
di ba unahin na muna yung liquidation daw.
Please, please turn off your audio first. Thank you. So for the benefit of everyone, here's a quick overview of the Zoom meeting controls. So at the bottom of your screen, you will find the menu bar, which consists meeting icons where you can control your audio and camera settings, among others. So to mute or unmute your audio, please click on the microphone icon on the bottom left portion of your screen. So a red slash over the microphone icon indicates that your audio is off. Next to the microphone icon is the camera icon to allow you to turn on or off your video stream. So click on this icon to activate or deactivate your video. So in the middle portion, you will find the chat icon where you can leave your questions while presentations are ongoing. And to change your name, click on the participants button and hover your mouse over your name in the participants list. Then click on rename. Then enter your agency name, your organization name, followed by your full name. So, all right, to begin, may we request everyone to please rise for the opening prayer and the singing of the national anthem to be led by Ms. Criza Balite.
Webinar on lessons learned, good practices, innovation, and success story. Shower speakers with inspiration, so continue sharing heart and soul of the nation. As participants, we absorb the invaluable knowledge experiences as references for ongoing projects and future application. We also solicit guidance in the matters at hand, so we can perform our work excellently with full of joy, faith, and enthusiasm. We also assist in the enactment of the knowledge acquired through this activity. Year of infinite blessing will be the success of this webinar. We ask this in the name of Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. Amen. Please remain standing for the singing of the Philippine National Anthem.
Thank you, everyone. We will now take our seats. So again, good morning, everyone. This is episode 3, the last of our 3-episode webinar series. So the past 2 days have been filled with lots of learnings and sharings from our guests and resource persons. And today will not be any different from the previous episodes. So I hope you've had a hearty breakfast this morning to keep us fired up for all of the activities lined up for today, as we will be learning about one of the results of the implementation of the Philippine-German Community Forestry Project in Quirino, or CFPQ. But foremost, allow me to acknowledge the presence of First Assistant Secretary Marshall C. Amaro Jr., the Assistant Secretary for Policy Planning and Foreign-Assisted Special Projects. Also, may I acknowledge also the participants from the Food and Agriculture Organization Philippines, Society of Filipino Foresters, Inc., and from the University of Southern Mindanao. We're also joined by DENR regional offices from Region 1, 8, 9, 12, from Penros, Nueva Vizcaya, Misamis Oriental, La Union, Abra, Pangasinan, Zamboanga, Senros, Nagtipunan, Liloy, Palo Leyte, Coner, Olongapo City, Kamiling, Dipon, Calamansig, Ozamis, Manukan, Kiamba, Sarangani, Calaco, Brooks Point, Palawan, and Ipil. Also from Senro San Isidro, Isabela, and Penro, Cotabato. So good morning po again. So moving forward, to formally welcome us all in this webinar, I would like to call on the Director of the Foreign-Assisted and Special Project Service, who has been with the Department of Environment and Natural Resources for more than 40 years, as he started his career in 1977 at the Bureau of Forest Development, now Forest Management Bureau, or FMB. So he has also served as the overall program coordinator of the Forest Land Management Project, or FMP, and the Integrated Natural Resources and Environmental Project, or INREM, both ongoing projects under the FMB, and as INREM's Deputy Project Director, before physically joining the Foreign-Assisted and Special Project Service towards the end of December 2019. So in the coming weeks, he will be celebrating his first year anniversary with us. So everyone, let us give Director Angelito V. Fontanilla a warm round of applause. Director Fontanilla, now have the audience.
Good morning to everyone. I hope you are hearing me clearly. Okay. Before I proceed, I wish to acknowledge the presence of the Undersecretary Jonas Arleones. He is our Undersecretary for Policy Planning and International Affairs. And of course, the Assistant Secretary for Policy Planning and Foreign-Assisted Projects, Assistant Secretary Marsa Amaro Jr. Since this is the last day, I would like also to express our sincerest gratitude to the LGIS, Special Concerned Information Service. Sila tumutulong sa amin when it comes to dito sa what can we call they are also here in the room. Of course, the HRDS, Human Resource and Development Service. May nakalimutan po ba ako? Okay. Of course, the Knowledge Information System Service dito sa ating they have provided us the facility so that we'll be able to reach you. They gave us 100 slots for this particular webinar. So for those who hindi namin kayang ma-accommodate, much as we would like to, that is our limitation. These days, as everybody knows, since February or March, we cannot really, yung plano natin, hindi natin siya magawa ng for a long period because of the uncertainties. Sinasabi nga natin na we just leave, we can just make plan for a shorter period because of the volatile situation. Uncertainties in the sense that when it comes to connectivity, nagkaroon tayo ng problema because of the global health, nagkaroon tayo ng problem, this pandemic. So it really affected our daily routine. We are now, they said that this is the new normal, so we have to adjust to this situation. So there are so many users of the dito sa for us, our meetings that used to be face-to-face in person, and dito tayo sa Zoom. So we are also competing with the students of the public and private schools here in the Philippines. That includes from the lower level, from elementary, the senior high, the college students. So ganun siya karami. If you read the newspaper just now or watching television, it is no less than the Secretary Roque announced that we are number 33 when it comes to the speed sa dito sa internet and sa ating connectivity. So even Laos na daw tayo ng Laos. So that's why ganun siya, ganun ang problema natin when it comes to this. Of course, the other ASEAN countries ranks higher than the Philippines. Thailand, even Vietnam surpassed the Philippines. So we believe the sincerity naman ni President to improve the facility. So that's why he has a matching order with the ICT Department of Information, Communication and Technology together with the Department of Interior and Local Government. So ganun siya. Hirap naman kasi as the information reach us, it will take about you will take about 33 permits before you can construct a tower. So ganun siya kadami. So even the new office, the what do you call this? Forgot the anti-red tape authority already stepped in, no? So matulungan na ma-hasten ang ating magandang information technology. So going back here sa atin mga project, the foreign-assisted and special projects have been with us since I entered the government service way back in 1970s, 1977 to be exact. So since then, we are implementing the foreign-assisted projects with the different international donors. So we are receiving this as official development assistance from these countries. So through the years, there are some also changes. Ganun naman talaga, no? So the donors, nagbabago din ang kanilang mga policies also. So we have to, in line with that, we have to issue guidelines so we'll be able to deliver what is expected of us to implement these projects. Ganyan siya. The webinar series on lessons learned, good practices, innovation, success stories with team foreign-assisted projects as pioneers of innovation is a first undertaking of the foreign-assisted special projects of DNR. So yesterday, for those who have attended, I know you will agree with me that we generated a lot of interest with the participants as well, the attendees as well. Although we encountered some difficulties, as I said, nagkaroon nga tayo ng problema when it comes to connectivity. So that is, dapat natin talaga siya since that is the reality, for me, kailangan ko din talaga may backup na Wi-Fi. So aside from the DNR facility, we were also provided with Wi-Fi. So kailangan talaga siya, no? Because I also experienced that not only for the local meetings, but also international meetings as well. Ano? So sometimes I was the one talking, pero I realized that I was already disconnected. They will call that sometimes they will call that they can no longer hear me. So I have to switch with a different Wi-Fi that is be given or available with the office. So actually tatlo na siya, no, together with Smart. So ganun siya. Because as I said, this is a very uncertain times, ano? And there are complexities na realize natin because tonight and about 3 nights ago, we attended also we are attending events with the called by the World Bank. We are also invited. So World Bank is located in Washington. So on the other side of the globe, when it is ngayon is 9:50 a.m., it's about the same time, but it's already p.m. there. So baliktad, ano, it's daytime here, it's already nighttime there. Ang malaking diferensya niyan is that we are working during the daytime. And to attend meetings at nighttime, talaga na-experience ko na yan, ano, personally. Lobat na ako by that time, ano, I cannot really finish those meetings. So by 10, I am already sleepy. So tonight we'll have another meeting. Ganun lang aming experience. But for Europe, when they called meeting at 3 or 4 p.m., it's about 9 a.m. there, you know? And they always start on time. So unlike us here in the Philippines, sometimes we are following the Bangkok time, you know. Bangkok is 1 hour late. So we are advanced by 1 hour. So ganyan. But when we have a meeting with other counterpart, kasi foreign-assisted, ano, I'm just telling you some stories so that we can lighten this. So Japan, yan, mga an hour ahead of us. I tried to make it to be on time 10 minutes before. I am already on board. Yan, sa mga meetings na on site. So that they will have a good impression about the kanilang mga counterpart here in the Philippines. Also with Korea, South Korea. The last delegation that we received before the pandemic, the Korean delegation, interested silang tumulong sa atin sa Manila Bay. So going back here before I can consume so much time, but kailangan din namin siyang i-inform about how the projects are being developed, being packaged. So nabanggit ko na yan, at tinitingnan ko ang projects here in the Foreign-Assisted and Special Projects, how they, the length of time that before we can implement a project. So tinitingnan ko siya, the average of about 3 years. Yun ang pinakamabilis, right now. For the CHEF, Global Environmental Fund, this is a largely grant. Ibig sabihin, hindi tayo dito nagbabayad. But we have, kailangan naman din natin dito na counterpart, whether in cash or in kind. Takes about, I said, 3 years from preparation to the issuance of SPA, Special Presidential Authority. So right now, about 10 are with the office of about 10 of the projects are with the office of the president. We are awaiting the special authority. It is the president himself that signs this authority. So for this year, we already received meron ng green light, or we are already authorized by the president to implement 2 projects with UNIDO, the United Nations International Development Office. It's based in Austria. So ayan siya. So the others are ang donor or funding implementing agencies are FAO, or Food and Agriculture Organization. We have also UNEP, United Nations Environmental Program. We have UNDP, United Nations Development Program. The others are GIS. This is a German, so sa Germany ito. And the JAIF, the Japan and ASEAN Integration Fund based in Jakarta. So ganyan ang those are yun ang mga tumutulong sa atin sa Philippines when it comes to these foreign assisted projects. So these projects that we are presenting to you have been implemented 10 or more than 10 years ago. The project impacts when it comes to the DNR's project, nare-realize natin siya for a long time. Kasi kung the target or when it comes to the framework that we have to increase the forest cover, we can already realize that about 5 years, ganyan, or more than 5 years. So matagal natin makuha yung impact. The impact also on the lives of the upland communities, kasi sa atin ay iba, ang forest areas, forest lands natin are being occupied by these communities and some families and other individuals. So nandun sila sa loob. So since they are already there, we are trying to tinitreat na natin sila as also a partner na natin sila in the development and protection of the forest. But to help them, kasi marami tayong bawal-bawal, bawal mag-cut and everything. So we can also understand that sometimes nakikita natin dito may mga charcoal making, kasi wala naman talaga sila other source of income. So they look at the trees as a peso sign. Ibig sabihin, pag kinat nila yan, naging charcoal, so that's the time kakaroon sila ng pera. But we have also, kailangan din naman natin silang tulungan. So meron tayong option, or we give them a source of income in the forms of livelihood. So for foreign assisted projects, those are the initiatives na binibigay natin. And in the coming days, we'll be presenting this to you so that you will have also a glimpse, makita nyo din naman ano ba ang nangyayari for other projects. So right now, we are implementing 2 big projects, the Integrated Natural Resources Environmental Management Project. Naka-picture siya sa ating sa newsletter that was flashed some minutes ago. This is being funded by ADB, Asian Development Bank, with IFAD, International Fund for Agriculture and Development. The IFAD is based in Rome, so sometimes nakikipag-meeting din kami sa kanila. And of course, ABB based here in Manila, Mandaluyong to be exact. The other one is the FMP, the Forest Management Project, being funded by JICA, the Japan International Cooperation Agency. So both projects have been packaged 10 years prior to its implementation. The FMP, an example, was signed in Tokyo when President Aquino went there, patapos ang kanyang term. So when this is, na-package na siya more than 5 years. So when this is being implemented, so nakita na when we revisited the project document, so kailangan na talaga magbago tayo when it comes to the targets because some of these were already rehabilitated or reforested under the NGP, the National Breeding Program. Ganyan. So there are project loan cancellation on the part of Engr because as I said, those areas hindi naman pwede nang ulitin because that was already rehabilitated under the banner the program. As for the project yesterday, the bamboo, yung bamboo na variety na magagamit natin because this is the priority na ating secretary to be planted in some open areas. But as discussed yesterday, we have to be conscious also of the site validity for this species. Ayan. Okay? So, yung the resource person natin for today, I talked to him a while ago because I informed him kailangan maganda rin naman ma-review natin ang ating friendship ng ating resource person because later on he will be properly introduced. As I said to him, he's on the other side of the globe also. Sabi ko nga, I went there in Washington sometimes 4 years ago, same month, so it's a winter there na malamig. He's based in Virginia, where it is ang kanilang boundary sa the Potomac River. Doon siya magko-cross siya. We were invited by World Bank then, and it's very near in the White House during that time, ang nanalo ay si President Trump, but he is end na kanyang term this year. So that was 4 years ago. Napakadaling tandaan ng aking travel there because of that. I can only connect with those events. So I think I am talking for a long time. So it's already 10 a.m. So I'm now turning this over to Miss kay Miss Andy. Andy, take over. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Director Lito, for that warm welcome. So to kickstart and inspire us in this morning's episode is our Assistant Secretary who holds a rank of Career Executive Service Officer 3 with an uninterrupted 39-year service in the government, particularly the Department of Environment and Natural Resources. He possesses a Master in Public Management with honors from the Development Academy of the Philippines. He earned a graduate diploma in agricultural economics from the University of New England, Armidale, New South Wales, Australia, and a Bachelor of Science degree in forestry from the University of the Philippines, Los Baños. A registered professional forester, he was conferred Most Outstanding Professional in the Field of Forestry in 2012 by the Professional Regulation Commission. Prior to his current assignment, he served as Assistant Secretary for Field Operations, Assistant Secretary for Field Operations Visayas, and concurrent OIC Undersecretary for Field Operations. Among his many accomplishments and experiences, what keeps the Assistant Secretary close to foreign-assisted projects is that he was the Program Director of the Philippine Environmental Governance Program back in 2004, which was funded by the U.S. Agency International Development. This project will also be featured in our future webinars. So for more on him, he is featured in the second quarter CY 2020 issue of the FAST updates, the official newsletter of the Foreign Assisted and Special Project Service. So ladies and gentlemen, without much ado, let us hear from Assistant Secretary Marshall C. Amaro Jr., Assistant Secretary for Policy, Planning, and Foreign Assisted Special Projects. Let's give him a warm round of applause. Asik Amaro.
Thank you, Andy. USEC Jonas Leones, our Supervising Undersecretary, the Undersecretary for Policy, Planning, and International Affairs. Of course, we have Director Lito and Assistant Director Marisa of the Foreign Assisted and Special Project Service. Our colleagues who are with us in the room now, who are very much interested in this webinar series representing the Food and Agriculture Organization, the Society of Filipino Foresters Incorporated. From the university, I heard from the University of Southern Mindanao, our DNR family from the northernmost to the southernmost, the regional offices, the provincial offices, and the community offices. And of course, our attached agencies who I saw a while ago, I think representing Laguna Lake Development Authority. Our friends, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Let me join Director Lito in welcoming you to this third episode of this webinar series of the Foreign Assisted and Special Project Service, or FASTs, on the foreign assisted projects, highlighting lessons learned, good practices, innovations, and success stories. This is the third episode in as many days, and I think it has been proven that this has generated a following. In fact, we were able to reach the limit in this Zoom online mode, and open up as well in the Facebook Live mode. And I think it is really very good undertaking by the Foreign Assisted Special Project Service. As mentioned earlier, I think the FAST is almost as old, if not as old as the new DENR, because we all trace back our history from the early days when we have been called or known as the Department of Agriculture and Natural Resources, the Department of Natural Resources, even the Ministry of Natural Resources, until we were all reorganized just like other agencies in the government in 1987, and now the present DENR. But I think this initiative in the department through the years on really engaging foreign donors for projects that needed outside support, not just in funding, but also in matters of technical expertise, have been there with us. And this, I think this initiative is commendable for FAST, the men and women who really work hard in preparing first the concept, then providing for the requirement, particularly of the respective donors, as far as the proposals are concerned, seriously negotiating and defending our proposals, and finally having this approved and implemented and completed. So what we would be expecting in this third episode, just like the two other episodes, are how these projects contributed to what the DNR is now in terms of the implementations of programs, projects, and activities. And I think for those who have been here longer than the others, you will see how the projects have influenced how we see things, particularly as far as our mandate is concerned, looking into the gaps and the problems that have emerged through these years, and trying to address these by way of our projects and activities and programs, as a matter of fact. So I am, I think, joining everyone in commending FAST And I think for this particular webinar, and it was mentioned earlier, our SCIS, Strategic Communication Information Service, our Knowledge Information and Support Services, of course, our HRDS for coming up with this package. And I think we tried our best to overcome the challenges under this digital world. But I guess the connectivity, as mentioned by Director Lito, is still a problem that we have to conquer and solve. But unfortunately, beyond the DNR, hopefully we would be able to really address these concerns, because I think the new normal is really being digital. And I think, as I mentioned in the first episode, we now find ourselves in this VUCAD world. V for volatile, U for uncertain, C for very complex, and A ambiguous, and D, lastly, digital. So we just have to embrace this crazy world out there, and we hope that we would be able to adapt. So for this episode, I really am very much familiar, not just because I spent all my life after school in the DNR, but because I am a forester and was one among the multitude in looking into the evolution of people-oriented forestry programs. And this third episode to be presented by a very good friend who somehow has the same roots in getting into the College of Forestry, just like myself. Forester Don would share with us how things turned out in this CFPQ project as we know it, that of the Philippine-German Community Forestry Project implemented in Quirino. But before that, I hope he could share the evolution on how he became an expert on community forestry project with German support, advice, supervision, and partnership. So I guess while I had also exposure in implementing projects, and I think that was a warning mentioned that I may later on be asked to present on my experience in the Philippine Environmental Governance Project, which I was fortunate to lead as project director in 2004. So I hope I could prepare for that and do justice to the project. In addition to my further exposures as Director of the Forest Management Bureau and the Ecosystems Research and Development Bureau in implementing forest assisted projects, from the negotiation for funding up to the implementation and completion. So I can only wish everyone the best in this third and last episode so far of this FAST webinar, which would highlight the foreign assisted projects as pioneers of innovation. So you be the judge in this third and last episode and see for yourself how this influence the present programs of the DNR on community-based forest management. So again, on behalf of this DNR group on policy, planning, and foreign assistance special projects, and for the Undersecretary for International Affairs, we'd like to again congratulate FAST and perhaps invite everyone to be participating actively in this webinar, because I think this is a rare opportunity for you to connect the dots from the early years of the DNR and to the present and beyond. Because I think what we are doing, it's not just for the DNR, but for all the stakeholders out there, whether on-site or off-site of the forest, but benefiting from the forest as we are managing it, being the mandated regulator. So thank you very much. Mabuhay tayong lahat and good luck.
Thank you very much, Asik Amaro. We are keeping our fingers crossed that we will no longer have any difficulty with our connection and devices. After all, this is our last episode. So for the information of everyone, we are also streaming live in Facebook, and we have 93 viewers and counting. And I would like to acknowledge our participants from the People's Integrated for Environmental Conservation Organization from Quezon City University, DENR offices, Region 3, Calabarzon, 10, and the National Capital Region, Penros, Davao Oriental, Cotabato, Marinduque, Quezon, Pangasinan, General Santos, Misamis Occidental, and Ifugao, Senros Oroquieta City, Lipa, Moncayo, Lamut, Ifugao, Catanawan, Quezon, Gran Sarangani, Muñoz, Nueva Ecija. May I also acknowledge our participants from NAMRIA, from Laguna Lake Development Authority, Forest Management Bureau, Mines and Geosciences Bureau, the various offices of the DENR Central Office. So good morning and hello. So you could also share this video stream to your office mates and colleagues so they may also learn about our topic today. So you can just go to facebook.com/DENR official and you can see us there. So thank you. So we can maybe have more participants while the presentations are ongoing. So at this point, we will have a quick photo opportunity. May we please request everyone to turn on your camera so we can see your faces for the photo opportunity. So we have 100 participants in this Zoom room, so we will be conducting the photo op in 4 frames. So I will prompt you to smile. Please turn on your cameras there. So, okay, so 1, 2, 3. Okay, smile. One, two, three, smile. Okay, next frame. 1, 2, 3, smile. Third frame. 1, 2, 3, smile. And last frame. 1, 2, 3, smile. Okay, so we're good. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone. So to give everyone guidance on what will transpire in this more or less 2-hour webinar, may I call on the Chief of the Project Monitoring and Evaluation Division, the Foreign-Assisted and Special Project Service, Ms. Lindy Gorospe, to present to us the objectives of the webinar and the program flow. So I turn over to Ms. Lindy.
So good morning, everyone. So for today's episode objectives, firstly, we would like to highlight the gains sustained after the project's completion. Second, we also would like to share the lessons learned, good practices, innovations, and success stories, as we call it, the LGIS, of completed projects, bringing out the significance of the learnings and applying this to the implementation of ongoing projects and perhaps in policy formulation. And finally, to improve project development through the knowledge gained from sharing of different experiences among projects. So to move on, for the remaining parts of the program, the former project officer of the FASCODEN, who handled the Community Forestry Project in Quirino, will provide us a brief background on the CFPQ. This will be followed by the insights of the former project manager on what were his expectations of the outcomes of the project then, and his experiences and lessons learned in the course of project implementation. Finally, we will come to the core of this episode, which is the presentation of what has become of the project initiatives. The resource person to be introduced by the Assistant Director of the Foreign-Assisted and Special Project Service. An open forum shall then ensue after the day presentation. And of course, certificates of appreciation shall be awarded to our distinguished guests and speaker before we finally close with a message from our Assistant Director. So that wraps up the program for today's episode. So now I'll turn you over to Ms. Andy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Lindy. So we will now proceed to the presentations. So we would like to remind our participants to make sure that your audio is turned off so as not to interrupt the webinar. Also, we will remind everyone that we will only be entertaining your queries after the end of all the presentations during the open forum. So you may, however, leave your comments or questions at the chat box, and we will go through them at the open forum. Okay, so to give us an introduction of the CFPQ and its former project manager, may I please call on the project officer from the Foreign-Assisted and Special Projects Office, as the service was called then, who monitored the project, Ms. Belen Panganiban. Ms. Belen, hope you're ready. You now have the audio. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. May I share screen? Please allow me to share screen.
Allowed na po, ma'am. Thank you po.
Meron na po.
Ms. Belen?
Yes po.
Ayan.
Okay na po. Ay, sorry. Ay, Miss Chris, ha? Okay.
There, you can see your PowerPoint na po.
Okay.
You may proceed, Ms. Belen.
Yes po. Good morning, everyone. Let me introduce to you the Philippine-German Community Forestry Project in Quirino, or the so-called CFPQ. Before our resource person present to you the lessons learned, innovation, and best practices of this project. So CFPQ evolved from two major Philippine-German projects implemented also in the province of Quirino. These are the Dipterocarp Forest Management Project and the Integrated Rainforest Management Project. I think some of us can still remember that project. So this Dipterocarp Forest Management Project implemented in the province of Quirino way back in 1998 to 1991 with the social forestry component implemented in Nagtipunan, Quirino, and then the IRMP, which was implemented from 1991 to 1994, focused on the organizing, strengthening of the communities for the eventual issuance of the communal land tenure instruments. So this project also focused focus on the issuance of the certificate of stewardship contract, or the CSC, and then also the implementation of the soil and water conservation techniques, and then development of upland farms. So for these two projects, it is a partnership of the government of the Philippines through the DENR and the federal government of Germany through the German Technical Cooperation, or the GTZ. So then after the IRMP implementation, then came the CFPQ project. This time, it is a joint undertaking of the DENR, Provincial Government of Quirino, and then the KFW. Later, Sir Don will pronounce the KFW, and then the German Technical Cooperation, or the GTZ. So CFPQ ambition to ensure sustainable development of the province of Quirino through the adoption of community-based forest management strategies and approaches. It focused on community forestry as the core component. As a main strategy, this project facilitated rural people's organization in planning, in mobilizing local resources, in implementing, monitoring, and evaluating the community-initiated natural resource management program. Implemented additional support measures, namely the land use planning, rural finance, sustainable upland agriculture, and community implemented or income-oriented infrastructure. So the main objective of this project is to conserve and protect the forest within the project area through sustainable management practices and through community organization and self-help. The project sites is Region 2, the province of Quirino, in 5 municipalities of Nagtipunan, Difun, Madela, Cabarogis, Aglipay, and 14 barangays within these 5 municipalities. It has a duration of 7 years from 1997 to 2001 with an extension period from 2002 to 2003. Its total budget is 8.5 million US dollar, broken down into the grant proceeds of 7.5 million US dollar, GOP counterpart of 1.026 million, and then the Philippine government of Quirino of 9 million pesos. As we have said before, the development partner is the KFW and the GTZ. We have the beneficiaries, the upland farmers, with a total of 1,858 households, and LGUs for land use planning and natural resources management. So this project has 6 expected outputs. 1 is the land tenure instrument issued. 2nd, sustainable agriculture, agroforestry practices adopted. 3rd, sustainable community forestry strategies approaches implemented. 4th, participatory land use planning, natural resources management developed. 5th, community implemented infrastructure constructed, and then rural financing. So by end of the project, CFPQ were able to deliver the following milestones corresponding to the following expected outputs. So for land tenure instrument, 10 land tenure instrument awarded to 9 POs, People's Organization. And then under the sustainable agriculture, agroforestry practices adopted, 2 hectares agroforestry demonstration farms established and maintained. Under sustainable community forestry strategies approaches implemented, the project forested a total of 1,144.76 hectares communal, individual, and boundary planting with 85% survival rate. 1 CBFM Federation in Quirino organized and registered. Under participatory land use planning, natural resources management developed. The project facilitated the affirmation of community resource management framework of 8 people's organizations. Annual work plan and RUP in 3 project sites affirmed and implemented, and then completed the Quirino Provincial Atlas and 25 thematic maps. They were also able to complete 7 community maps. So under the community implemented infrastructure, so we have, we have the CFPQ Training Center, the Dormitory, GIS Center, and Clonal Nursery operationalized and maintained by end of the project. So there are 21 bridges and 4.9 kilometers road constructed, 26.7 kilometers farm to market road graveled, and 1 small-scale irrigation established. For the rural financing, 8 barangay, 8 barangays base financial intermediaries strengthened and financial intermediary of two people's organization operationalized. So among the initiatives of the projects are the following: establish the Community Forestry Foundation-Quirino Incorporated, or the CFFQI. This is to ensure the sustained collaborative management among the CBFM implementers in the province. This is also to effectively utilize selected assets turned over by the CFPQ to the provincial government and the DENR. The project also introduced the individual farm development plan and established the model farms. And this, I think, helps a lot to our upland farmers. Develop technology guidelines for the following: the production of snack beans, garden peas, cabbage, citrus, mango, pineapple, and growing of native chicken and tilapia. So there are a lot more of innovations done by the projects, which later our resource persons will elaborate and present to you. So now, let me introduce to you our next speaker. Sorry. Our next speaker has more than 30 years of professional experience working with grassroots organizations. He also worked with government and international development organizations in the field of community-based forest management, watershed management, project cycle management, knowledge management, and climate change-related projects. He is a graduate of Bachelor of Science in Forestry from the University of the Philippines in 1984 and pursued further studies and obtained his master's degree in environmental management at Philippine Women's University in 2001. He was part of the Bureau of Forest Development from 1985 to 1988 and became a project development officer of the Foreign-Assisted and Special Projects Office from 1989 to 1995. He worked for the German International Cooperation for Red Plus and Community-Based Forest Management Project. He also served as the project manager of the Community Forestry Project in Quirino, this project. He became a consultant at the World Bank in Washington, D.C. for a few projects such as Kiribati Road Rehabilitation Project, Risk Resiliency and Sustainability Program, and PROFOR Project. Our very own environmental enthusiasts and experts, please welcome Forester Gordon Bernard Ignacio.
Thank you, Belen, for the kind introduction and also for the brief description of the CFPQ. Forgive me later on if there will be some repetitions on my presentation, but it is also nice to be among friends. I'd like to acknowledge also Asek Mars Amaro, Director Lito, Assistant Director Marisa, my mother unit, FASPO, FAPs DNR for organizing the webinar, and the opportunity to be able to share insights and lessons learned on CFPQ. I would also like to acknowledge my former bosses, and also I don't know if Yusek Jonas Leones is around. Shout out also to the people of Quirino, my former partners, and especially the PO leaders and members there, former colleagues in CFPQ, FASPs, as I mentioned, FMB, DNR Region 1, where I started, DNR Region 2, with the CFPQ, and eventually when I left Quirino and moved to Leyte, so my colleagues also in Region 8 and GTZ and GIZ. Also for the participants to the webinar, I saw and recognize some friends there. My former bosses at DNR, Asa Clerio Abuyuan, Boss Rafael Kamat, Boss RJ, my direct supervisor before, Ms. Chitnidad at the European desk. Special mention also to Boss Max Soriano. He recruited me to be his assistant project manager in IRMP in 1993. And then in 1994, he went for scholarship, I believe. And that's when I took over IRMP for a short while, and then CFPQ. Also worth mentioning, my GTZ counterparts, my first team leader, Dr. Navin Rai, and also eventually Dr. Hans Voll. So in the next 10 minutes or so, I will tell you the story of how I got involved in CFPQ, how events unfolded and got interconnected, and how it impacted my personal and professional life. Next slide, please. So Belen presented the project description. I will give some history and background story to give context on how the project was conceived, implemented, and sustained. A while ago, Director Fontanilla talked about the gestation period of projects from project preparation or conceptualization until the time that it is approved and eventually implemented. So it was mentioned that it started with a one social forestry component in a saklat in 1988 under the DFM project. The other component, the main component, actually was in Surigao. It involved low impact harvesting together with a logging concession. And then, as Asek Mars mentioned, there was a reorganization in DNR in 1987. And in 1989, DNR launched the Community Forestry Program, CFP. In 1989, then President Cory Aquino had a state visit in Germany. She put forward a request for assistance for the CFP. It was favorably considered, of course. And in 1990, technical assistance team was dispatched to the Philippines. I was then part of the FASPO European desk. So I was involved in the first mission and field validation in 1991. And that was my first trip to Quirino province. Together, I don't know if you still remember, former Mayor Blando, the forester Mayor Blando, who accompanied us from the town proper of Difun. We rode in a 6x6 truck because that time the roads were so bad going to Baguio village, the first village that we visited. And then also in the same year, the DFM project was terminated and a new project phase and renamed the RP-German IRMP. It had new components in 5 barangays that were identified in the feasibility study. And as mentioned by Belen, it was implemented from 1992 to 1994. Next, please. And so it was mentioned also that in IRMP, there were 2 partners, the DNR and the GTZ, the German Technical Cooperation. With the new project of CFPQ, the 2 became 4, with the addition of the, I will also not pronounce it, Belen, KfW, which is the German Bank for Reconstruction. It is a financial cooperation. And the provincial government of Quirino became a full partner. So the first phase was implemented from July 94 to December 2001. And the goal was mentioned already by Belen, and also the project purpose. So from a purely technical assistance project, the financial assistance was added for investment in agriculture and forest development, infrastructure, and land use planning. Additionally, and equally important, the CFPQ supported institutional strengthening of partner organizations, mainly the LGU, the provincial and community level DNR, NGOs, financial institutions, in order to prepare these organizations in sustaining the project efforts in the area and replicate them in other areas. Next slide. Okay, so during the consolidation phase, recognizing the experiences and lessons learned by the CFPQ as a frontline field implementer of CBFM program, the joint GTZ KFW project progress review proposed a 2-year final extension phase. And it will be implemented from January 2002 up to December 2003. And this is now just basically the technical cooperation that is continuing to consolidate the project approach in order to promote its sustainability not only in Quirino province, but also in other areas. So the project goal now includes not only Quirino, but also similar provinces with the 4 results that are listed in the slide. So cross-sectoral consultations and coordination between different and national institutions and stakeholders responsible for natural resource management are facilitated. The experiences gained in creating favorable framework conditions for the sustainable management of natural resources are effectively used. Improved methods and instruments to implement sustainable management of renewable resources in the forest lands of Quirino are developed with support from LGU and DNR, and the remaining activities funded under the financial cooperation are implemented and monitored. Next slide. Okay. So in the CFPQ's final consolidation phase, it made a conscious effort to increase its visibility after years of quietly field testing CBFM strategies and policies. So you can see some of the milestones that happened during this time. We have compiled experiences on integrated land use planning, forest resource inventory, community resource management framework. I don't know if some of you still remember about CRMFs and annual work plans, individual farm development. We did cost-benefit analysis, both in forestry and agriculture. So we were heavy on technical side of forestry. We assisted POs. We trained both LGUs and DNR in basically following the implementing rules and regulations 9629 and other CBFM policies that the POs will be implementing. A national forum on lessons learned was conducted in February of 2002, a year before the project ended, where 3 case studies were presented. First, Sentinels of the Forests, which depicted the challenges the communities faced in managing their natural resources and how the people's lives changed as a result of this. Second, The Forest Grows Again, which showed the experiences and innovations of CFPQ, the difficulties they went through, from forest protection issues to shifting CBFM policies, and the challenges they overcame. Lastly, Good Governance, Lasting Forests, highlighted how Quirino has emerged as a national role model for local government's role in CBFM. It also emphasized how traditional concern for the environment can be built into the local government structure by virtue of the local government code. The project produced and distributed a 2 CD compilation of the process documentation and publications generated during the project life. It contained about 200 reports and documents, training materials, handouts on the different components and technical activities that we did. Next slide. Okay. During the consolidation phase, the project emphasized capacity development, in which priorities focused on the structures, mechanisms, and roles and responsibilities necessary to sustain CBFM collaborative planning and management. The consultative process for capacity development led to 2 significant conclusions. First, there is a memorandum of agreement to support further development and validation of multisectoral collaborative planning and management for CBFM implementation. Second, there is a commitment to establish a foundation to provide cross-cutting services for CBFM implementation. So the MOA aimed to follow through on the collaborative approach for CBFM as implemented in conjunction with the CFPQ and the Debt for Nature swap, which in 2003 covered 28% of the total area and 57% of the natural forest area of Quirino province. To purposely support facilitating collaborative and multisectoral CBFM planning and management at local, regional, and national levels. To further validate the strategy so that the DNR confirms and executes policy for more effective and efficient implementation of CBFM programs, and to ensure that essential responsibilities, institutional collaborative management mechanisms, and budget allocations will be mainstreamed continuously by the organizations of the respective parties of the MOA. So I will not talk much about the foundation because this will be discussed later on by Engineer Grace Herminal, who is the executive director and also my former staff in CFPQ. Next slide. I mentioned a while ago about the Debt for Nature swap, DENR-SIP. So concurrent to this, from January 1998 to March of 2003, a sister project, the Debt for Nature Swap Initiative project in Quirino, was also implemented. It also employed the same CBFM strategy, and DENR-SIP was a result of an agreement signed by the Philippine and the German government on the consolidation and reconciliation of the Philippine government's external debt. The agreement involved the cancellation of 12.775 million Deutschmark in debt after the Philippines will disburse 30% for an environment project. So DENR-SIP performed a pilot function as it was the first German Debt for Nature swap project in the forestry sector to be implemented with local funds and resources. The effects of the DENR-SIP were twofold. The Philippines preserved nature and biodiversity, as well as profit from the overall economic advantages of reduced debt repayments. As a result of the successful implementation of DENR-SIP in Quirino province, the Federal Republic of Germany canceled a total of 371.9 million pesos in our debt. So Quirino province, through the CFPQ and DENR-SIP, has therefore been at the forefront of CBFM, field testing models and strategies aimed at further streamlining the steps and making the procedures more community-friendly. So aside from participating in other programs, Quirino province was given the challenging task of implementing these 2 pioneering projects. The province had successfully completed the task and has continued to sustain CBFM initiatives through the foundation that it has established. Next slide, please. So some insights and lessons learned. Belen mentioned a while ago some of the milestones, some of the commendable achievements of the project. But the road to success was not easy. It was fraught with stumbling blocks. On hindsight, it was more like a roller coaster ride characterized by uphill battles and small victories afterwards. The experience of Quirino provides valuable lessons, and we want to highlight and share some of the insights. The first deals with the way the project was conceptualized and designed. There was a clear project concept and guiding principles. The principles included poverty orientation, gender sensitivity, participatory approach, self-help focus, and process orientation. Following the principle of the German technical cooperation, the project put emphasis on initiating the process of sustainable resource management rather than on achieving planned targets. And this was where sometimes conflicts or arose between GTZ and KFW, because KFW is a bank, was so much on targets, on the implementation of the measures that were funded under the financial cooperation. The project believed that when the process has been institutionalized at the community level, the management of natural resources becomes more effective and sustainable. The project strategies based on the principles mentioned were jointly discussed, elaborated, and agreed upon. So decision-making was by the people's organizations, internal community-level resource mobilization, people's organizations as the implementer of project measures, integrated approach, and the combination of technical cooperation, GTZ, and the financial cooperation, KFW. It's unique in the sense also that in the final phase, in the last 2 years of the project, technical staff from the provincial government of Quirino were detailed to the project. And Penreo, the counterpart of the DNR Penro, acted as the assistant project manager for the last 2 years of CFPQ. This is also in preparation for the eventual turnover of the assets of the CFPQ to the province. We also know that building capacities takes time, a lot of time, resources, and patience. So community organizing was crucial as we try to stay true to the principles that I just mentioned. Next slide. But the biggest challenge the project faced was the unstable policy frame conditions. CBFM as a strategy for sustainable forest management was through an executive order, EO 263, in 1995, signed or executed by then President Ramos. The IRR was through DNR Admin Order 9629. But there was a new administration after the 1998 national elections, and not long after that, resource utilization was put to question and eventually halted. And this was one of the core project activities in the first place. So even the issuance of tenure instruments was also affected. It's good that Belen presented a while ago that we were able to have DNR issue 10 CFMAs. The change in policy prompted a series of high-level visits of DNR officials to CFPQ as the project and the GTZ registered our grave concern. We joined other agencies, donor agencies and projects, NRMP, USAID, I think ADB projects also, and JICA joined in those policy dialogues that were conducted to raise the issue and come up with solutions. Then Secretary Sirlias visited, in fact, CFPQ and met with the POs to explain why he had to ask his staff for the rationalization of the policy. But he assured the POs that he will issue an amendment, which he eventually did. This, however, meant that a lot of energy was spent and momentum was lost. And then, of course, in 2001, there was another change in administration, and CBFM policies were again put to question. Next slide. Projects are catalysts of change. They provide mechanisms and opportunities not readily available in the regular structure of government. CFPQ and DENR-Foreign-Assisted changed the landscape of Quirino province. What was accomplished in Quirino helped foster the good relations between our country and Germany. So the one foundation was created, which I said a while ago, Grace will be expounding upon. But then the GTZ eventually supported also CBFM in Leyte Island through the Leyte Island program, and then the Environment and Natural Resource and Rural Development program, the ENRD, the piloting of RED Plus, also in Leyte Island, and the GTZ also supported this community-based forest and mangrove management project in Panay and Negros. There was a post-project evaluation conducted in 2006 on CFPQ. It showed, so it was 3 years after the project terminated. So we did not get so much high marks on the issue or on the criterion of sustainability, mainly because of the question of whether the foundation would be able to sustain the gains of CFPQ. And yet, here we are, almost 20 years later, the foundation is still very much alive. As for me, of course, in terms of relevance, the project was got a very high mark on relevance because CBFM strategy was very much relevant. But as for me, I retired from the government service after CFPQ and a short stint as concurrent Senro of DIFUN, after which I moved to the Leyte Island program and joined GTZ. Half of my government work was spent in Quirino, more than 10 years. And then the next 10 years was spent with GTZ and GIZ in Leyte. As a side note, before I end my presentation, if you remember in my earlier portion of my talk, I mentioned about my GTZ counterpart, Dr. Navin Rai. When he left CFPQ and the Philippines in 1999, he joined the World Bank. He eventually became the lead social development specialist and was instrumental in the crafting of the Indigenous Peoples Policy of the World Bank. I reached out to him 2 weeks ago to let him know about this webinar and asked him if his stint at CFPQ had any impact. He replied in his email, and I will quote. He said, "Of course, during my tenure at the CFPQ, I personally had gained a lot of insights into the natural resource management by indigenous peoples. These insights I had gained there went into the crafting of the World Bank Indigenous Peoples Policy. When you read the World Bank policy, you can sense the underlying assumption that indigenous peoples are leaders in sustainability when it comes to natural resources management. Without the CFPQ experience, the World Bank policy would not have been drafted with such emphatic language on sustainable natural resource management by the indigenous peoples." End of quote. The IP policy is one of the most important safeguards of the World Bank. In fact, some projects could not even proceed if the IP safeguards are not taken into consideration. So with this, I will just read. After the project ended, also the Philippines Environment Monitor of 2004, prepared under the auspices of the World Bank, cited the notable achievements of the CFPQ and recognized it as a best practice in CBFM implementation. So, konting yabang. So, next slide. Thank you for your kind attention.
So thank you, Ms. Belen, and thank you, Mr. Gordon Ignacio. We'll see that, let's give him a round of applause. So, it would seem that the implementation of the project has been really challenging, yet it is good to note that there is life after the project ends. So again, everyone, let's give Mr. Gordon a big round of applause. So just a quick announcement. To those who wish to join us via Zoom, I'm afraid to say we have already reached full capacity in our Zoom meeting room, but you may catch us on Facebook Live. So please do invite your colleagues and tell them to visit facebook.com/DNR official. We have already reached more than 100 viewers in Facebook Live. So we are aiming to reach more so they may listen to our next presentation and participate also in our open forum. So at this point, I hope you are excited to learn about what happened after the CFPQ was implemented or was completed for almost 20 years ago. So to formally introduce our resource person for this morning, may I call on the Assistant Director of the Foreign-Assisted and Special Project Service, Assistant Director Maria Sabrina Cruz. So ED Marisa, you now have the audio.
Okay, thank you. Good morning. The speaker for today's final episode is an information technology expert. After joining Globe Telecommunications, she went back home to her home province in Cabarugis province, in Cabarugis, Quirino province. At the time, the project on community forest-based management in Quirino was in full swing. While there, she joined the RP-German Community Forestry Project, where she began her Geographic Information System operations career. While with the project, she assisted in the documentation processes and in the creation of various map layers of Quirino, leading to the creation of the Provincial Atlas. Her skills and training in GIS operation brought her to engage with the provincial government of Quirino under the Provincial Planning and Development Office. She has been serving the provincial government of Quirino for 17 years now, with her multitasking skills developed during the implementation of CFPQ and her ability to manage various projects. She was designated as the GIS lead officer, as well as project coordinator of the provincial government. She is currently the executive director of the Community Forestry Foundation-Quirino Incorporated. As executive director of the foundation, she continued to implement CBFM-related activities. From there, she has developed proposals ranging from empowerment of indigenous peoples and CBFM peoples organizations to nursery management and reforestation projects in collaboration with the provincial office and national government agencies like the DNR and NCIP. Presently, she is one of the members of the Regional Advisory Committee for Region 2 of the Foundation for the Philippine Environment. Presenting to you, ladies and gentlemen, is our resource person, Ms. Grace Dorothy Vicente.
Miss Grace. Miss Grace Vicente, can you please turn on your audio and camera so we can see you in your presentation? We can see you na po, ma'am. Thank you.
Hello po.
Good morning, ma'am.
Yes po, good morning. Actually, I was using two laptops. Nakat po kasi yung isa. So, pang-emergency po ngayon itong aking cellphone. Baka po makat po ulit.
Okay lang po, ma'am. We proceed with the presentation po. Thank you po.
Okay. Okay, so good morning po ulit sa ating lahat. I'm so sorry if I would not be able to recognize all our participants, but I would like to mention especially my former boss, Forester Ignacio, and to my colleagues with of the DENR-Quirino, and to all our distinguished guests of the DENR Central Office. So this morning, I will be sharing with you our experiences after the Project Life, the RP-German Community Forestry Project Initiative. Hello, clear po ba ako, ma'am?
Yes po, ma'am. Clear po. You may proceed po.
Okay. So the sustainability component of the RP-German project in Quirino was sustained through the Community Forestry Foundation of Quirino. So next slide po. The RP-German Forestry Project initiated actually the process to establish the foundation, which will take prominent responsibility for selected services of the RP-German. Next slide. And so the established foundation was named Community Forestry Foundation of Quirino Incorporated, which was registered to the Securities and Exchange Commission last October 29, 2003. So kung bibilangin po natin yung serbisyo po ng CFFQI sa probinsya ng Quirino, it's almost 17 years now po. So 17 years now. And the CFFQI was created by the provincial government as a mechanism to sustain the gains of the RP-German CFPQ and the RP-German DFN-SIP. Its creation was covered with a MOA, entered into by the PGQ and the 7 parties from the local, national, and I think there are 2 NGOs. Okay, so next slide. Ito po yung original vision and mission ng CFFQI. Pasensya na po, masyado pong mahaba. So I think I would not be reading all of it, and hope everyone may understand what it envisions and the mission of the CFFQI. So may we proceed to the next slide. So there are 4 objectives of CFFQI. We have number 1, to advocate the effective policy and procedures for sustainable use of natural resources through participative and collaborative management practices. We also have number 2, to utilize a geographic information system as an integral part of land use planning and management. We also have to develop knowledge of natural resource management. And last is to enhance meaningful partnerships among people's organizations, the local government, the DNR, and the private sector. We also have the purpose. I think we have 7. And number 1 is to strengthen and consolidate people's organizations and local communities' capacities to protect, manage, and utilize in a sustainable manner their natural resources. We also have an effective alternative to one agency having responsibility for cross-sectoral program areas, namely collaborative planning management and capacity development, the provision of geographic information system, management of the training center, and the nursery and agroforestry services. Third, we have to establish an effective partner of the provincial government and the DNR for continuity of selected program areas of CFPQ. Number 4, effectively utilize selected assets turned over by CFPQ to the provincial government and the DNR. Realize an unpolitical base for support to natural resource management on forest land, which is the community-based forest management program. 6 is create an institution that limits bureaucratic layers, facilitate a positive acceptance by public and private stakeholders, and responds to declared priorities. And lastly, increase the potential for resource mobilization, which is we have to access funding from different funding institutions, and as well as public-private partnerships. So next slide, please. Next. And we have here the Board of Trustees of the foundation. So obviously po, our Honorable Governor as the chairman, and then yung iba po dyan kasi is private individuals, and then government officials. Pero ito pong mga Board of Trustees namin, they are representing themselves as private and not as representatives of the offices po. So next slide, please. And this one shows the present organizational structure of CFFQI. So presently, we have 15 employees of the CFFQI. All were detailed from the PGQ. And we also have 3 employees na CFFQI po yung nagpapasahod. And for the information of the group, the 15 employees, yung salaries po nila are from the provincial government. Okay. From the structure, we have 4 cross-cutting services. We have the CPMCD, or yung ating collaborative planning management capacity development services, our GIS, our training center, and our nursery. And kung mapapansin nyo po, meron dyan nakakabit na under sa CPMCD services, we have the IIMT, or yung ating interinstitutional management team. The next slide will show you the role of the IIMT. So yung ating interinstitutional management team, its role is to ensure overall protection and development of watersheds of Quirino Province and sustain the implementation of community-based forest management program and strengthen the integration, harmonization, and collaborative implementation of relevant forest and forest land management plans and programs in the province. Bali, ang IIMT po, ang implementing arm ng CFFPQ in the provision of the cross-cutting services. So, ang component po ng IIMT are different offices from the PLGU, like the PPDO or the Planning Office. We also have the Provincial Natural Resources and Environment Office, the Agriculture and the Veterinary Office. And we have the SP Sangguniang Panlalawigan as the chair for environment sector. Sa national offices po, we have the DNR, the Penro and Centro offices. We also have the NCIP and the Department of Agrarian Reform. And also from the MLGUs po, we have 6 municipalities in the province, the MPDOs or the Municipal Planning Offices, the Environment Offices, and the Agriculture offices of the municipality are representing in the interinstitutional management team. We also have NGOs and the PO Federation, like the Conservation International. We also have Palasian Economic Development Association, the Municipal CBFM PO Federation, and the Bugkalot and AGTA associations. And member of the IMT were also from the Multi-Sectoral Forest Protection Committee and the DNR-PAMB. So yun po ang composition ng interinstitutional management team. This is covered through an executive order issued by the provincial governor, Sir Juni Kuwa. Siya po kasi yung nakapirma doon. Okay, so next slide po. The following slide shows the different services or the facilities of the CFFQI. So first, we have the CPMCD or the Collaborative Planning Management and Capacity Development. I have enumerated 5 services of this unit, but we are focusing on the capacity development of the POs of Quirino Province. We also conduct monitoring activities. We provide the strengthening of network and the information flow among institutions. We also organize people's organization. We train them on CBFM, sustainable agriculture and livelihood programs. And our second services, the Geographic Information System. We have here 3 major services that we are providing to our constituents, like the conduct of training on the operation and application of GIS. We provide mapping, surveying, and the analysis of geospatial data for different activities of the provincial and the municipal government units. We also provide design and the piloting of new approaches and innovations as models for promotion. So our third service is the nursery and agroforestry. The main activity of our nursery and agroforestry services is the propagation of fruit and forest trees. We also provide technical assistance and training on plant propagation and nursery operation and management to our POs, our CBFM POs. And we also provide technical assistance on the establishment of agroforestry programs. And lastly, we have our training center. This facility of CFFQI serves as information center and the venue for the conduct of various workshops and activities po in the province. But we mainly cater for the needs of our CBFMPOs. Okay. So in the implementation of these services, we have the interinstitutional management team. All activities of the CFFQI are collaborative in nature. We connect it through the IIMT kasi yung ating IIMT is a composite from the different offices of the LGUs and the national and NGOs in the province. So next slide po. So ito po yung a bit of information about our CBFM People's Organization in the province. We have a total of 35 tenure holders, 21 from Senro de Fun, having an area of 32,087.75 hectares of CBFM area. And in Nagtipunan, we have 14 POs having an area of 50,792.62 CBFM hectares of CBFM area. So all in all, we have almost 83,000 hectares of CBFM in Quirino province. All our CBFM POs, I believe, are active because the DNR office in Quirino are well supporting our activities, complementing po yung aming activities kasi. So monitored po sila. We provide technical assistance, different trainings and workshops for our CBFM POs. So next slide. So we have here the milestones of CFFQI. Ito po yung mga activities and projects na kinandak, in-implement ng CFFQI from 2005 to present. Yung from the time that RP-German phased out in 2003, I think from 2003 to 2005, yun po yung institutionalization phase niya. Yung mga activities were CFFQI is being registered sa SEC, and then yung organizational setup, yun po yung mga activities na conduct. And then beginning 2005, ito na po yung mga na-research ko na kinandak ng CFFQI. We have the Policy Forum for Quirino Province in collaboration with EWW, or the Enterprise Works Worldwide. CFFQI also initiated the formation of a PO Federation in Quirino, which is the Quirino Sustainable Movement for Environmental and Economic Development, or the QSED. And then from 2006 to 2007, we assisted QSED in the conduct of community-based resource management and development of Quirino's biodiversity through the GEF SGP funding. And then from 2006 to 2007, next slide please. CFFQI acted as a survey enumerator during the conduct of research on the assessment of protected area cost and benefits in Nagtipunan, Quirino. This was through the funding from RICS and CARE Philippines. And then from 2006 to 2009, we implemented an EC UNDP grant project amounting to 2 million, entitled Enhancing Food Security Through Proper Care and Maintenance of Agroforestry and Forest-Based food yield in Barangay Tukod. I think we established here a citrus plantation, and then the POs, nag-raise po sila ng poultry. I think until now, yun pong kanilang citrus plantation ay meron pa rin, existing pa rin po. The next, 2012, together with the PTFCF or Forest Foundation now, CFFQI conducted the workshop Consultation on Biodiversity and Forest Conservation for Social Resilience in Sierra Madre Corridor, having the PLG of Quirino and the 6 municipalities as participants. In this year, we also conducted the Provincial People's Organization Forum on CBFM updates and implementation through the FPE Fund grant, with participation from nearby provinces like Isabela and Nueva Vizcaya. So ang participants po natin dito ay CBFM POs. And then we also assisted the Forest Land Management Project of DNR Senro Difun in terms of the mapping services. We provided them the maps needed in their project. And next, from 2013 to 2014, we again assisted to CBFM POs in the preparation of proposals, and fortunately, it was approved by FPE. So in-implement po nila, like the St. Joseph Cooperative of Madela Quirino, ang project po nila ay rehabilitation and development of watershed, nursery establishment as income generating project of their barangay. And second, we have Gabriela Multipurpose Cooperative of Difun Quirino. Ang project po nila ay rehabilitation and reforestation project. And then also the same year, through the CI Philippines Fund Grant, CFFQI also conducted 2010 Forest Cover Rapid Assessment for Quirino Province. So CFFQI po mismo yung nag-conduct, nagpunta po sa field, but CI Philippines provided the technical training para po magawa itong activity na ito. And then, next slide po. In 2015, CFFQI implemented the project entitled Integrated Micro Watershed Enhancement Project within critical slopes of the Cagayan River Basin in Quirino. This was funded by UNDP SGP5 in the amount of 1.8 million, benefiting 2 CBFM POs in Nagtipunan, particularly Barangay Landingan, enhancing 100 hectares of watershed. The project actually addressed the 3 outcomes of SGP5. So yan po ay 2 years implementation. And then following is the funding from the Forest Foundation in the amount of almost 4 million po. Yung project is empowering indigenous peoples and CBFM peoples organizations as forest land managers of Nagtipunan Quirino, benefiting 7 CBFM POs and 1 indigenous peoples organization, which is the Agta tribe. So in this project, various organization development and technical training were conducted. So ito pong mga project na ito from private funding institutions, kasama po namin ang DENR, ang mga offices ng provincial government, and of course the NCIP, ang barangay local government unit. All projects that were implemented from 2005 up to this date were all successful. Salamat po sa DNR kasi kung wala po sila, we believe hindi po ito magiging, hindi siya ganun ka-successful kasi being our partners and also our member of the IIMT, they are supporting in terms of technical assistance sa mga pag-conduct po ng iba't ibang training sa ating mga POs. And then also from the provincial government, next slide, from 2018 to present din po, the provincial government of Quirino entrusted CFFQI the management of various projects through its GIS technology services. So we have 4 major projects that were conducted. Ito po yung conduct of survey for Quirino roads and bridges, geotagging and inventory, mainstreaming disaster risk reduction and management, amounting to 1 million. We also have the production of hazard maps and administrative maps for the 132 barangays of Quirino province. So we produce large-scale maps to 2 maps per barangays. So malalaki pong mga mapa. Yung hazard maps natin, particularly flooding and landslide maps, hazard maps. And then we also conducted the household survey and geotagging for the development of a GIS-based management information system for public health and nutrition, amounting to 3 million. And another one is the conduct of hazard survey and geotagging for the development of a GIS-based management information system for disaster risk reduction and management, also amounting to 3 million. So yung third and fourth activity po, pagkasabay po yan in a year, ginawa po ng CFFQI through its GIS services. This was very important sa province kasi we contributed much in the attainment of the Gawad Kalasag Award, National Award for Quirino Province through our GIS technology. Next slide po, we have the strategies to sustain the gains from the Philippine-German project. Ito po yung mga naisip namin na strategies kung bakit po until now CFFQI is existing. We conduct regular meeting with partners through the interinstitutional management team. So this was the venue where we share ideas, concerns, and issues in our own jurisdiction, and we tackle it among the group. Ang lead facilitator po dito is the PENRIO, and our secretariat is the Provincial Planning and Development Office. We also provide technical assistance to POs in the updating of their community resource management framework together po with DENR. And then full manpower support from the provincial government. They also provided us office space and the basic facilities like what I have mentioned a while ago, yung salaries po ng staff, and then yung aming electricity, subsidized po lahat ng provincial government. And then nakatulong din po yung continuous development of project proposals for lobbying to funding institutions. Okay, so those were the strategies that we implemented to sustain the gains. So next slide po. And then as you can see, I have only enumerated the two issues, challenges and issues after project completion. Medyo nahirapan po akong mag-research kung ano po yung mga challenges and issues in the early years of CFFQI. Kasi just an information po, hindi pa ako ganun ka-involved noon sa CFFQI. I was still an encoder. And then later part, naging mas involved po ako in the implementation of the projects siguro 2016 or 2017. So ito po yung mga challenges na research ko. Number one for sure is we have limited fund to assist all the CBFMPOs in the province. For the 35 CBFMPOs, salamat po at nandyan ang DNR. Nagsusupport na lang po kami kung meron po kaming mga extra fund na galing sa aming mga funding institutions. We complement it with the DNR. So what we do is we prioritize POs needing more assistance. And then siguro for DNR, sila yung tawag doon, parang mas engaged sa mga POs. Yung mga nakikita namin na hindi masyadong na-reach, siguro ganon, kami na po yung pumupunta. But then we coordinate with DNR. And then number two, ito po yung medyo mahirap din, the change of administration, lalong-lalo na po at the municipal level. Every time na mag-change po yung mayor, syempre we have to conduct again meetings with them and made them aware of what CFFQI is implementing and offering to our CBFMPOs and to our LGUs. Okay, next slide po. So ito po yung current plans, research and studies, but I think I cannot show you, I cannot present to you for now yung mga research and studies na na-conduct or ika-conduct ng CFFQI. So what we are doing for now is we provide technical assistance not only to PLGU, but also to the local government units in Quirino province. So we have the development of contingency plan for disaster risk reduction management using our GIS technology, lalo-lalo na po sa ating provincial DRRM office. Addressing mitigation and prevention, yung kanyang 4 thematic areas. We also help in the preparation of maps, addressing governance in the following areas. We have disaster preparedness and environmental protection. Ito po yung sa Seal of Local Good Governance, SGLG. Kasi awardee din po kasi ang Quirino province. We also provide assessment of risk for households located in areas highly prone to hazards. Through our GIS services, we conduct surveying. Bali, gine-geotag po namin lahat ng mga households na highly prone to flooding and landslide. And then next, we also assist in the development of a provincial governance system through provision of complete information for monitoring and evaluation to effectively and efficiently deliver basic services. We also assist in the development of a provincial database for automated information access, validation, and for the use of the Provincial Health Office in the contact tracing. We also help in the updating of the Provincial Development and Physical Framework Plan through mapping. We also assist in the updating of the Provincial Governance Reform Roadmap for local road information management result under the DILG CMGP for 2021 to 2025. Ito po yung sa conditional matching grant program ng DILG. And then we are also updating the provincial road network in terms of maps and infrastructure inventory. So yan po lahat yung mga assistance na ino-offer namin, binibigay namin sa provincial government. And we also have assistance to the 6 local government units in the province. So we assist in the updating of their forest land use plans, their comprehensive land use plans, their LCCAP, the enhanced LCCAP, and in their updating of their comprehensive development plan. So we also assist in geospatial analysis of the community-based monitoring system tool. Yan po yung kanilang CBMS sa mga munisipyo. What we are doing is we analyze their data, we process it here in at the GIS center, and then we give them back their data na process na para po magamit nila. And then lastly, we conduct training on the operation of GIS and the use of the global positioning system for surveying purposes. So actually, we have 6 satellite GIS centers in the province. Sa kanya-kanyang munisipyo, meron po silang GIS center. And we are providing them training. Actually po, yung regular is twice a year. Due to the pandemic, this year we were not able to conduct any training for them. And then we also have assistance to the barangay local government units in the provision of maps for their barangay development plans and in their barangay disaster and health plans. And we also conduct basic training on the operation of Global Positioning Unit or yung GPS. Kasi interesado din po silang malaman kung paano daw po mag-survey gamit ang GPS. And then next slide, we have here yung mga products, mga advocacy na ginagawa po ng CFFQI. I think these are purely photos. Yan po. This was taken during the organization of the Agta Tribal Group and meeting with the IP groups in Nagtipunan. We have the Ilungot tribe, Bugkalot tribe. And then next, we facilitate collaborative and multi-sectoral workshops. Kaya nga po meron tayong IIMT. So yan po yung mga workshops na we had with the different municipalities, and yung sa baba, pinakababa po ay yung ating Bugkalot Federation. And then we also have maps as one of our IEC materials. We provide different maps, official maps of the province. We have it all here in the GIS center, the GIS services of CFFQI. So we provide training to different offices, yun po mga gustong makapag-train ng GIS and the GPS usage. We provide them trainings, not only here in Quirino province, but we also extend the trainings to nearby provinces. And then we also have tree planting activities. We joined with the provincial government. We also have humanitarian assistance. Next slide po. Yan po. We provided the relief goods during the flooding sa Cagayan and Isabela. And we also provided the relief goods sa ating mga agta tribe. And then we have the last slide. Yan po, following yung ating CBFM principle, which is the people first and sustainable forestry will follow. Before I end the presentation, gusto ko lang pong i-share yung gusto ng aming congressman, si Sir Juni Ikuwa, and our provincial governor, si Honorable Dax Kuwa. Kasi nagtatanong po sila kung paano daw po pababalikin yung GI set and KFW contribution. Because Sir Juni wanted it so much that the assistance ng German government ay sana po daw bumalik sa Quirino. He will be very eager na magkaroon daw po ulit ng project sa Quirino. Tinatanong po niya sa akin kung paano daw po makipag-meeting sa DNR. And hopefully, masasagot po ngayon kung ano pong pwede kong sabihin kay Congressman. So yan lamang po ang presentation ng CFFQI. Thank you po.
Thank you very much, Ms. Grace Dorothy Vicente, for the comprehensive presentation on CFFQI. So everyone, let's give Ms. Grace a warm round of applause. So now that we have heard from our guest and resource speaker, we will now start our open forum to address your questions. So just a quick reminder, kindly keep your questions brief and please identify who would you like to respond to your question. So you may put in your questions in our Zoom chat box or via Facebook comment section. And we will go through these questions. And Sir Don and Miss Grace are with us to address our questions. Don't be shy, ask your questions, ask away po. So far, we have no questions in our Zoom chat box. How about for Facebook? But we have one here in the meantime. So question, ma'am, for Miss Grace. How has the Quirino province benefited from the services of the CFFQI, aside from relief goods, in the recent string of calamities that hit the province? So can you cite specific instances or situations? Ms. Grace, let me repeat the question. How has the Quirino province benefited from the services of the CFFQI, aside from relief goods, in the recent string of calamities that hit the province in terms of mitigation? So can you please cite specific instances or situations? Thank you, ma'am.
Instances or situations where the province benefited from CFFQI po?
Yes po, ma'am, in terms of disaster mitigation.
Yes. Our GIS technology is being maximized. Yun po yung pinaka malaking tulong na nagagawa po ng CFFQI for the province, yung pag-analyze po ng ating mga geospatial data, lalong-lalo na sa disaster. We are producing maps na kailangan nila. We also provide them database, yung mga needed information para po makapag-decide sila efficiently and effectively in all aspects po ng project implementation sa province. Kasi they are needing the GIS, lalong-lalo na po yung maps.
Thank you very much po. We have a question in our chat box. This is from Ms. Elma Ilaria from the DNR Central Office. The question is for Ms. Grace. The question is, aside from support from the provincial government of Quirino, do you also get some share from project management costs for every project proposals facilitated or approved for local and foreign funding as other source to operationalize all the activities mentioned?
In every proposals po na ginagawa ng CFFQI, we have the administrative cost. And aside from the lahat po ng fund from the projects is nagagamit po in the provision of different activities na ginagawa po namin sa mga beneficiaries ng project. So we only have the admin costs, but we also get counterparts from the provincial government and the national agencies and the local government unit through technical assistance.
Ms. Elma, do you have any follow-up questions for that? I guess none. So we have here a question naman po for Forester Don. So the question, sir, is, in retrospect, what are your insights on what could have been done better during project implementation? So, Sir Don?
Okay. First, before I answer that, gusto ko lang din i-congratulate si Grace. I am in contact with my former colleagues sa CFPQ, and I asked them for some updates. Pero I was really surprised doon sa dami ng nagawa na nila after the project ended, and they still do, and I'm very happy for that and proud to be part of it. In terms of hindsight, siguro ang ano lang is marami kasi ang malaki talaga doon is yung external na hindi namin hawak, which I emphasized yung sa unstable na policy frame condition. So siguro hindi ko alam kung nakatulong ba sana ang mas malawakan pa na policy dialogue, pero lahat naman din ng nag-implement during that time, yung mga donor agencies, mga projects, big project. We were, maliit lang kami actually na project during that time. Mas malalaki yung iba. Pero I think we did what was within our power to influence whatever sana yung pwedeng gawin. And as I said, it forced Secretary Cirillas to visit the project and explain. In fact, there was even a memo that he sent to President Estrada explaining why he had to do that. So I think in our own way, I would say na ginawa namin ang lahat ng aming makakaya. Siguro, okay. Ang siguro mas on hindsight, sana mas maaga yung integration ng provincial government. Hindi na lang yung last 2 years. Kasi, di ba, we were already a few years na rin yung local government code. Meron ng collaborative management, meron na tayong experience natin sa Nueva Vizcaya. So it would have been siguro yung sa design na mas maagang nag-vault in ang provincial government.
Thank you very much. Going through our chat box, we have a question here from the Office of Assistant Secretary for Policy Planning for Assisted Special Projects. Questions, sir, or I think this is for Ms. Grace. Why is it that CFFQI did not focus on CBFM POs on the improvement of their livelihood capabilities rather than mapping activities.
Okay. CFFQI was not able to focus more on the improvement of the people's livelihood project or program. Kasi as I have mentioned a while ago, we really lack fund to implement activities of those kind. But then, sabi ko naman po, we prioritize POs. So we select those POs who are in need. We have done it before. We only have 1 to 2 POs lang po yung aming natulungan. But then, we also have the DNR na tumutulong, and then yung provincial government, meron po kasi silang flagship program na Quirino Livelihood for Everyone. So, bali yung program po na iyon, yun po yung nagpro-provide ng livelihood sa ating, hindi po siya particularly sa POs, but sa barangay. But then the CBFM POs could also avail of those livelihood programs. So yun po yung malaking tulong. Hindi man po kami masyadong nakapag-focus doon sa livelihood ng POs, but we complemented with the provincial government through yung technical assistance, yung pag-provide ng trainings, tapping the interinstitutional management team. So yung assistance talaga is galing po sa provincial government of Quirino.
Thank you. Do we have a follow-up question po? Response is because if livelihood trainings were prioritized, maybe they are already self-sufficient today. Narinig niyo po, ma'am. Because if livelihood trainings were prioritized, maybe they are already self-sufficient today. So that's a comment from the Office of the Assistant Secretary for Policy Planning and Foreign-Assisted Special Projects. Would you like to comment on that, ma'am? Thank you po.
Yes, yes, ma'am. Actually, there were 7 POs of the 35 CBFM POs na nakapag-put up po ng cooperative. So, hindi man po lahat ng 35 CBFM POs naging successful na magkaroon po ng livelihood programs, but at least there were 7 of them na naging cooperative, which is until now very successful naman po, very successful sila. And another thing is that yung capacity po ng ating CBFM POs na maggawa po ng proposals is nasa weak level pa lang po, and that is where CFFQI, the DNR, and other NGOs like DESERD from the Quirino State University is engaging into. Nag-assist po kami sa kanila na maggawa po ng project proposal. So yun po.
Thank you, ma'am. Let me just read a comment here in our chat box. This is from the Office of the Assistant Secretary for Field Operations Visayas. The comment here, it seems that CFPQ had truly pioneered the innovations adopted in the community-based forest management in the country. Because of it, GIZ has funded bigger projects such as ENRD, RED Plus, and CBFMMP, and the establishment of interinstitutional group that sustains the past efforts. What in the strategies in the community, in the technology, and in partnership that truly mattered in the advancement of CBFM. So this is from Sir Alvin Gatbonton of the Office of the Assistant Secretary for Field Operations Visayas. So thank you for that comment, for that insight. Considering we are pressed with time, maybe we can entertain one more question. Here I have a question for Forester Don. Sir, the question is, What difficulties did you encounter in the turnover of the project to the provincial government? And how did you address the challenges, if any?
Um, I mean, we didn't, hindi lang ako, kasi we had also the GTZ counterpart. Kaya lang, the project was designed in such a way na yung mechanism was kasama na yung provincial government. Remember, yung last 2 years, nakadetail na yung ibang mga project staff. Yung assistant project manager was from the provincial government. So we didn't find much problem, not even siguro parang resistance when we were drafting together with them yung MOA. We commissioned actually a study on how to create the foundation, ano yung legal basis and all that. Lahat yun nakasama doon sa ginawang study so that we will determine. We were not really sure na gaano maging successful siya. It's just that, of course, we were relying on the MOA signed by different partners na sana i-sustain nga ito. So I'm really very happy na after almost 20 years, na andyan pa yung foundation. And in fact, I visited the project office, I think 6 years ago. And I went back to my former office and nandun pa, even yung aking upuan, and they're still using it. So napakaganda talaga ng partnership na yun. So we didn't have any resistance. Siguro baka mas ano pa sa DNR. Baka may mas resistance pa sa DNR kaysa sa province.
So thank you po very much. Siguro one final question before we close the open forum. This from Ms. Elma Ilaria, requesting insights from Sir Don. With the result and experience of CFPQ, could we say that designing a project should be based on this approach rather than in silos nationwide?
Wow. Coming from FASPO Project Prep, I think dapat talaga may depende rin kasi. Sometimes, of course, we cannot do away na may mga conditionalities din ang donor or funding agencies, no? But we have to really be firm also. Kasi nung dinidesign yung project, the CBFM, yun yung yung kakastart lang niya, ang daming interested to do it. So it was really designed in such a way. So siguro balikan lang yung mga principles na yon, but we also have to be realistic sa mga present conditions. So may mga basic principles that we still have to follow, but also taking into consideration na nagbabago rin tayo. But ang lagi namin sinasabi noon is that if you do not change, if you don't transform yourself, you will become irrelevant. So dapat meron kang basic principles, but at the same time, look out in such a way na you will be relevant still in the future.
Thank you, Sir Don. Ms. Elma responded, thanks, Sir Don, stay safe. So that's it for our open forum. For more questions, maybe we could send the questions to our resource person and our guest, so these could be properly responded to. So will that be all right with you, Sir Don and Ms. Grace? We will just email if there were more questions from the participants.
Yeah, to the best of my knowledge.
Yes, of course. Thank you po. So considering the time and effort spent by our guest and resource person to make their presentations and to be with us through this seemingly unconventional way of sharing, but has now become the new way of life for any one of us. The organizer of this event would like to humbly express their appreciation. May I call on Director Lito Fontanilla to please award the certificates of appreciation to our guest and resource person. So I turn over to Director Lito.
Yes, good morning again. To Mr. Don, you are still welcome to visit the province of Quirino whenever you are here in the Philippines. The last time we went in Quirino, I was with the JICA team because we still have an ongoing project, which I mentioned earlier, the forest management project. This covers also the province of Quirino together with Nueva Vizcaya. For the, what do you call this? Is this the, I forgot the name of the river basin there. The upper river basin. Okay. I know this is a long day for you. It's already, it's almost 12 o'clock here, and I know it's past almost midnight there. I will read the certificate. The Department of Environment and Natural Resources awards the Certificate of Appreciation to Mr. Gordon Bernard R. Ignacio for having shared valuable experiences, learning, and sustainable milestone from the successful implementation of the Philippine-German Community Forestry Project in Quirino during the webinar series on foreign-assisted projects as pioneers of innovations. That features episode 3, Sharing CBFM Knowledge, Philippine-German Community Forest Project in Quirino, hosted by the DENR-Foreign-Assisted and Special Projects Service. Given this 11th day of December 2020 in Quezon City, Philippines. Signed by yours truly with Assistant Secretary Marcial C. Amaro, our Assistant Secretary for Planning and Foreign-Assisted Projects and Special Projects. Again, thank you very much for your time and effort, Don.
Sir Don, would you like to give a short message po?
Okay, short lang. The success of the project during its implementation would not have been possible without the full support of FASPO, FMB, the DNR Central Office, yung ating regional office, yung ating Penro, dalawang Senros in Quirino, yung ating mga POs, my staff sa CFPQ, and of course the provincial government of Quirino. So yung success ng project before is a shared one, and I'm really thankful for this opportunity to share itong lessons natin and insights. So thank you for the recognition.
Thank you po, Sir Don. Everyone, let's give Sir Don a warm round of applause. Have a good night's sleep daw po, sabi ni Miss Lindy. So to our resource person for today, may again call on Director Lito to award the Certificate of Appreciation to Miss Grace Vicente. Director Lito, thank you.
Before awarding this appreciation, I'd like to respond to the question of Ms. Grace na baka makarating kay Governor. I know is the Congressman Cuba, namimit ko yan sa Congress when I was still with I was the Director of the Financial and Management Service. So palagi kami nag-uusap niya. And of course, the son, now the Governor of Quirino. Grace, you can approach our first with the Penro, si Penro Francis Malana, the Penro of Quirino. She is nakita ko naman, member siya ng Board of Trustees ba yun? Oh, yeah. So, and then also our Regional Executive Director, si Red Mutia Bambalan. She is based in Tugigaraw, Cagayan. We have on the hard pipeline and hard pipeline the two projects in river basins to be funded by the GIS. This is one is located in Luzon and the other one is in Mindanao. So if you can still propose, so why not? This is a very timely for you considering what happened. The damages brought by Typhoon Ulysses in Cagayan Valley. Okay. So proceeding now to the awarding of certificates. The Department of Environment and Natural Resources awards the certificate of appreciation to Engineer Grace Dorothy G. Vicente for having shared valuable experiences, learning, and sustainable milestones from the successful implementation of the Philippine-German Community Forestry Project in Quirino. During the webinar series on foreign-assisted projects as pioneers of innovations that features episode 3, Sharing CBFM Knowledge, Philippine-German Community Forestry Project in Quirino, hosted by DENR-Foreign-Assisted and Special Project Service. Given this 11th day of December 2020 in Quezon City, Philippines, signed by yours truly with Assistant Secretary Marshall C. Amaro Jr., our Assistant Secretary for Policy, Planning, and Foreign-Assisted and Special Projects. So again, to Engineer Grace, thank you very much for your time and efforts, and we hope to see you in the future. Maganda naman ang ginagawa ng foundation in your province. Thank you very much.
Engineer Grace, would you like to give a message po?
Medyo, excuse me po. Once again po, I would like to thank you all, lalong-lalo na po sa DNR for appreciating the efforts of the foundation and being one of the speakers. Actually, I'm not really expecting to join kasi hindi po ako masyadong familiar yung early activities ng CFFQI, and lalo naman po sa CFPQ kasi I was just then an encoder ni Boss Don. Boss Don po kasi ang tawag namin kay Sir Gordon. So once again po, thank you po for this chance. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much po, ma'am. It has been a pleasure to have you in this webinar series. So let's give them a warm round of applause. So as for our webinar participants, we will issue to you your certificates of participation once you submit the accomplished evaluation form. So the link to the evaluation form will be posted in the chat box and DNR official Facebook page. So kindly check them now. Thank you very much. Also, please know that we will be posting the recordings of the webinar episodes in the official DENR Fast YouTube channel, and we will send the link where you can access them at the end of the webinar series. So thank you very much. All right, so moving forward, we finally reached the last portion of our program. So before we close, may I please call on again Assistant Secretary Marshall Amaro Jr. for any additional message before we close. Asek Amaro, are you still with us?
Yes, thank you, Andy. And I guess I will only again reiterate my congratulations to the FAST family, for the great work. This 3-episode webinar highlighting the contributions of foreign-assisted projects to our existing programs and projects. And I think with the last one, which was on the Community Forestry Program for Quirino, I think I would share Don's perhaps amazement that the foundation they put up under the project is still in existence after 20 years. So what would be a better proof that what they invested on worked, and hopefully this could be replicated in some other parts of the country with some modifications taking into consideration the new normal and lessons learned from other related projects. So I also would wish to join everyone in thanking our resource person for sharing specifics of their involvement in the project and updates, particularly from Don, who I think sacrificed part of his sleeping time to be with us and to respond to queries after his presentation, also to Engineer Grace for the challenge and question thrown to us on possible German intervention on related projects in the province of Quirino. So again, my hats to everyone who in one way or another put all these things together, and to those who were with us either through Zoom or through Facebook Live in the 3 projects that were shared in this webinar series. Thank you very much, and we do promise that if there were shortcomings in the 3-part episode, 3-episode part of this first webinar, we'll definitely improve on and try to address the hitches and the glitches that accompanied this webinar. So I guess we're all in this together, and we just hope that we'll be better the next time around. So I guess that's as far as what I can say at this point. Thank you for being with us, and keep safe, everyone. We're still under the COVID pandemic, and since it's Friday, happy weekend as well. This is the second weekend before the Christmas week, and we hope that despite the pandemic, the Christmas spirit is still very much alive within each and every one of us. So again, happy weekend and advance Merry Christmas to everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Asik Mars.
Thank you, Sir.
Thanks, Asik Mars.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas. I would like on Assistant Director Marisa Cruz for her closing remarks.
Finally, we come to an end, but endings are beginnings, so it's not yet goodbye. Maybe the group of Lindy is giving a sigh of relief because of the enormous preparations they've put into this webinar. But congratulations are in order for the group of Lindy who manage the knowledge management group of FAPs. Okay, in behalf of FAPs, represented by Director Lito, Lindy, Conrad, Ed, and Amy, we wish to thank everybody for staying through with us since Wednesday. We hope that this webinar was able to impart something valuable and was instrumental in guiding your respective concerns on environmental protection and conservation. Like I can conclude that the episode 1 featured the Southern Mindanao Integrated Coastal Management Project, which gave rise to the Environmental Protection and Conservation Project in Sarangani. Episode 2 featured Philippine Bamboo Septum, which showcased the bamboo plantation in Luwakan, Baguio City, which has now become a model of bamboo plantation. And finally, we have this episode 3, the final episode on community-based forest management, which inspired the creation of the Community Forestry Foundation in Quirino. So the 2 projects in Southern Mindanao and the forestry project in Quirino are LGU successes, while the bamboo septum is institutional successes. FAPs will continue to share with you packets of successes from their projects, because these projects have become champions of innovations and best practices. And these projects have become models of sustainability. They are not just a catalyst of change, but also game changers in program implementation and reforms. We noticed the enthusiastic participation, judging by the number, the volume of audience we participating in this webinar. So we assure you that there will be a season 2 next year with 3 episodes. With the support of Director Ito, he told me that we will again mount another webinar next year, either virtually or physically. So we wish to give thanks to our resource persons, Romeo Basada, Cornelio Ramirez, Fatima Tangan, Minda Odsi, Gordon Ignacio, and Grace Vicente. And acknowledgements to SEIS and KIS for making this webinar possible. And from all of us, happy holidays. Thank you. Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
Thank you, AD Marisa and HRDS. So, well, everyone, that wraps up our event. So thank you for joining us here this morning and for participating in our 3-episode webinar series on foreign-assisted projects, lessons learned, good practices, innovations, and success stories. So just a reminder, we will be posting the recordings of the webinar episodes in the DENR-Fast official YouTube channel. So again, we hope to see you in our future webinars, and we are excited for those. So thank you, everyone. Again, I am Andy Palma, and it has been a pleasure to host this webinar series. So I wish you all a pleasant day, have a happy lunch, and thank you, and keep safe. Thank you. Sir Don, good midnight snack, and hope you have a good night's sleep.
Thank you, Andy. Good hope.
Bye, Don. Merry Christmas.
Bye. Bye-bye. Maraming salamat.